Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's honestly a bit unsettling, but absolutely crucial to talk about. We're going to uncover a dark reality hiding right in plain sight: how human isolation has literally been weaponized into a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, let's get into it. When we think of financial predators, we usually picture some faceless hacker in a dark basement, or maybe an anonymous scammer on the phone. But as we're going to see today, the most devastating threats are actually way more intimate than that. We're talking about a highly methodical system that targets a very specific and rapidly growing vulnerability in modern society. Take a second and really let this sink in. Imagine dying alone in America. No children, no spouse, no one checking your bank account, no one protecting your home, no one questioning where your life savings disappeared. It's a chilling thought, right? But here is the cold, hard reality we're unpacking today. Somewhere out there, someone is waiting for that exact moment to strike. These predators, they study loneliness the exact same way a hunter studies weakness. They are definitely not your average random burglars. And the sheer scale of this, we're talking billions of dollars. Billions. Every single year, these funds are quietly drained from lonely elderly Americans and transferred right into the pockets of manipulators. And we aren't just talking about fake charities here. We're talking about intimate professionals, fraudulent caregivers, predatory financial advisors, and people pretending to be close friends. The most terrifying part of the whole shebang: many of these victims never even realize they were targeted until absolutely everything is gone. Section 1. Below the surface, the mechanism. So to truly grasp how these billions just vanish, we really have to look at the deeper mechanisms of emotional manipulation and how our society has radically shifted. Think about past generations. They aged with built-in community protection, right? Aging happened inside large family systems. Grandparents lived nearby. Neighbors actually knew each other, and local institutions created these natural safety nets. If something looked off, the community stepped in. But in modern America, we move constantly for work. Marriage and birth rates are dropping. And we're experiencing this intense emotional isolation behind our screens. I mean, you can have 2,000 followers online, but literally nobody to call in a real emergency. And predators, they know that this absence of watchers creates a massive, extraordinary opportunity. And that opportunity leads us straight to what's called emotional exploitation. This is the methodological process of providing attention, conversation, and warmth to build a severe dependency. The predator enters the victim's life super slowly, providing the exact thing they desperately need. Because, and this is key, loneliness actually changes our economic behavior. The U.S. Surgeon General has warned that chronic loneliness is as deadly to our health as smoking multiple cigarettes a day. But psychologically, it makes people way more trusting toward anyone who provides comfort. It lowers skepticism. It completely increases compliance. Section 2. The deep ocean, root causes. Okay, so we know how it happens on an individual level, but why are America's elderly so uniquely vulnerable to this specific type of predation right now? Well, modern society has 4 massive structural vulnerabilities. First, the loneliness epidemic, where social fragmentation leaves people totally disconnected from their neighbors. Second, the declining family structure, meaning millions are aging without children nearby. Third, the economics of aging. Think about it. There are enormous concentrations of wealth tied up in home equity and pensions, combined with declining health and super low protection. And finally, healthcare dependency. Criminals actually scrape data from these 4 areas. They comb through obituaries, senior Facebook groups, dating apps, hunting for this exact profile: high assets and low protection. These modern scams are incredibly data-driven. I really want to pause on this next point, because this might honestly be the most devastating thought in this entire explainer. Better exploited than abandoned. That sentence explains so much hidden suffering. You see, when dependency creates a huge power imbalance, victims often realize they're being manipulated. Deep down, they know something is wrong, but they tolerate the abuse in complete silence because they are utterly terrified of losing their only source of human companionship or daily assistance. Section 3. The human toll. 3 faces of fraud. Let's ground this with a few stark, realistic scenarios to show the intimate devastation of these scams in action. First, the story of a 78-year-old widow in Arizona. Her husband of 45 years passes away, and her kids live all the way across the country. In month 1, someone simply begins visiting regularly, just helping with groceries, listening to her stories. By month 6, because of that intense, built-up emotional reliance, this new friend gets added to her financial accounts. By year 1, the house ownership is legally transferred. It perfectly illustrates the terrifying methodical patience of predators who just step in to fill the void. By the time relatives finally notice, everything is legally gone. Our second face of fraud is the classic online romance scam. Picture a divorced, middle-aged man in Ohio, super isolated after losing his job. It starts out simple. He makes a connection online. Over months, a profound emotional dependency is built up. They listen to him, they make him feel cared for. Then, out of nowhere, the manufactured emergency arrives. A medical bill, a sudden travel problem. This is quickly followed by repeated, desperate transfers of money. And he doesn't do this because he's unintelligent. He does it because we humans are biologically wired for connection. Predators know that manipulating human psychology is vastly more effective than trying to hack technology. The third scenario is the care dependency trap. Consider an elderly veteran who loses his mobility. Suddenly, his caregiver becomes his entire world, controlling his transportation, his food, his medication. That reliance is then weaponized into legal manipulation, where the caregiver actively isolates him from his remaining contacts. It ends in total control. The veteran is basically forced into silence through the absolute, paralyzing fear of losing the only person keeping him alive. And look, the core tragedy here isn't even just the lost billions. It's the hidden emotional devastation. We're talking about crushing shame and humiliation, severe depression, deep paranoia, a complete and utter loss of societal trust, suicidal ideation. The true trauma is the profound realization of ultimate betrayal. Imagine finally discovering that the person you trusted the most, your confidant, only stuck around for your assets. For a lot of victims, this kind of emotional destruction completely wipes out their remaining will to live. It really forces you to ask this chilling question: who would notice if I disappeared? This isn't just about individual victims anymore. This crisis destabilizes our society as a whole. Millions of Americans are now looking around and genuinely fearing aging, not because they're afraid of death, but because they fear abandonment. When an entire civilization has millions of people quietly terrified that they'll die unseen, social trust completely collapses. Section 4, Resurfacing. Survival infrastructure. But hey, this story does not have to end in despair. We can rebuild our defense systems and focus on real, actionable solutions at every single level of society. Individually, we've got to establish power of attorney early and actively join local groups before a crisis hits. For families, we have to stop normalizing emotional neglect. Seriously, a simple 5-minute phone call to a relative matters immensely. At the community level, we desperately need senior visitation networks and intergenerational housing. And on a policy level, we need stronger elder protection laws and serious caregiver accountability. We have to reframe social connection. It's not a luxury, it's survival infrastructure. And honestly, it is so much cheaper to maintain than trying to repair the absolute devastation of post-fraud trauma. Which brings us to a really powerful realization. We spend so much time in modern society trying to avoid financial poverty, a lack of money or assets. But there's something far more lethal out there: relational poverty. A total lack of human connection, belonging, and emotional safety nets. The hard truth is that absolutely no amount of accumulated wealth can protect a person who has nobody left beside them. Relational poverty is quietly becoming America's most dangerous threat. A society that allows millions to age emotionally abandoned will eventually create systems where exploitation becomes inevitable. This explainer wasn't just about financial fraud. It was really about human connection. So here's my question for you to take away today. What are you doing to make sure no one in your life disappears emotionally? I invite you to share this explainer with others, check on the vulnerable loved ones in your life, and definitely share your own experiences in the comments below. We have to start having these conversations before isolation becomes the defining condition of modern life. Thanks so much for learning with me today.